This is a little video introduction to my asynchronous course that I'm using for my teaching event. Class is called Engineering Design Graphics. And this module that I'm using for my teaching event is my final module. It's actually being used in real time for our class as well as for my students' class. And I have included a student's feedback survey of the module so that I can get some feedback from my students about how they like or don't like some of the new curriculum that I added to the module. I do not meet with my students in person on this module, so you won't see me dynamically answering questions with students. I do participate in the discussion modules, and hopefully those will reflect some interesting questions. I did not prepare the lesson that I had prepared my earlier lesson plan on, and so I did create a final review lesson plan that I outlined using the form that we had used for our previous lesson plans. And I found it very helpful to keep me organized, and also it really encouraged me to sort of loop everything together. So I have to say I really like this format of creating the actual formal lesson plan. My lesson plan includes a part one video. Well, actually, my lesson plan includes a wrap-up video, which is both sort of an introduction and a conclusion video, but it tells students that there is a printed guide, so I need to have that up front. Then really the part one of the new curriculum is an infographic regarding taking tests. Part two is a rough guide to the learning material, and it's to give students link to their prior learning and also to sort of keep them organized in where they study for the exam that's coming up next week. And then part three of the lesson plan is really a topic by topic review that uses the PowerPoints that the students previously used for their learning, brings them back to those same PowerPoints and makes sure that they can find them so that they studying on topic and not wasting a lot of time just sort of studying general information that won't be on the test. Trying to consolidate and expedite their studying so that they can be successful. So that's what I did for my teaching event, and I was going to show you some of it as it goes. So this is the page in the module where the teaching event occurs. There's a quiz. We have those every week. They give students immediate feedback on the topics that they're studying this week. So I've already included that in my course modules. This discussion for week 15 is where I added new curriculum that includes an application practice test question that the students can work through together this week, and then next week when they are having their final, this material that's covered in the practice final question will really help them, because this practice question is in orthographics, which is for the students their primary learning objective, and also it's fairly difficult for students to work in orthographics. So I have that they're going to do separately from their module is the discussion, the application, and then after they've done the discussion for week 15, they'll be doing that throughout the week, working on that. They also have a new task which I created as part of the new teaching curriculum, and that is for a feedback survey on the new module structure, especially, do they like the new application problem that they're doing in the discussion, and also how they feel about the materials that I've added below. So that's going to help me understand if I've hit the mark or if I'm still needing to adjust this module for better learning uptake. We normally have these homework links. This is a new study guide. and it covers all the topics that are on the test in brief so that students are focused on the correct topics. That we do have a comprehensive class, so I don't want to make it too much of a scavenger hunt for them. I want them to get to the point and know the material so that they do well on the test. Um, so I have the new exam study guide, and then I call this a wrap-up video, but it's both an introduction and a conclusion for this material. It does guide students to use the study guide and welcomes them to participate in the survey above, and also welcomes them to work hard on the discussion forum where they're doing a practice exam. So that's an important video. The actual learning materials really consist of this infographic, which is a test taking tips. I go over this, every one of these as they might apply to the students' class here in the video part 1. And that's a 6, almost 7-minute video where we just talk about test taking strategies, staying calm during the test, how it relates to the real world, so that students are in a better mental state for taking a test. I do have some test taking students that they exhibit a lot of anxiety because this is a more difficult class for them. And then part 2 of my module is really a roadmap of what material we covered. I specifically used a previously referenced rough guide to the course so that students can see in whole where they've been and where they're going. I then further break that rough guide down into the actual pages of the module where learning materials are found. So I really want students to know where the PowerPoints are that they're using to study with the guide. And so that's what part 2 is, really scaffolding for the students. Some students may not need this. Other students still, in my opinion, are a little bit lost on where their materials are in Canvas. So I want to make sure prior to the final, they get a good chance to review their PowerPoint slides. And then the final review, the actual topics that I review are in a little more detail. They're in this final video, part 3, and it's 15 minutes, so it's fairly lengthy, and they have their study guide to take notes on and bring them back to the points in the PowerPoints that they find most confusing or that they need more help with. So that's the teaching event. And so I'm going to try next to just play part of the final review, part 3 video that I made for the students, but I wanted you to have context for the other elements of the module.